Question one has a lot of parts, but there's not a lot of real difficult math going on here. The first thing they want us to do on part A is just create a profit equation. So reminding ourselves of the profit equation. The profit equation is always just our revenue equation minus, and then always in parentheses that cost equation. So our profit equation would equal our revenue equation, which is 8x minus, and then in parentheses, put that cost equation. So 0.002x squared plus 5.6x plus 70. And you can go ahead and just enter it like that. It'll be fine. And then from there, part B just wants us to start plugging some values in. So R of 150 is saying take 150 and plug it into our revenue equation. So the revenue equation is given back here. What I like to do on these, sometimes it's easy to just replace that X in the calculator on the normal screen. I like to always just graph these things so that I can let the calculator do the heavy lifting for me. So in Y1, I'll put 8X. From there, I'm going to graph it. And then I'll just do a second calc, and inside that calc menu, I'm going to choose number 1, value. It'll ask me what X value I care about, and then from there, I'm just going to type in the 150, and whatever the Y comes out as, that's going to be my answer. So I open the calculator, go to my Y equals, type in that 8X, I graph it, and I'm going to hit second calc value right now. And what you're going to see is that you would get an error message normally right now. And why that's happening is not because of anything we entered in, just in the fact that if you go into your window, you'll see that your X max is set at 10. We need to make sure our X max is always larger than whatever the value is we're trying to type in. So I'm going to push my X max out to 200. From there, I'll do my second calc value again and type in that 150. And that's going to give me the 1200 out on the bottom that I see for my Y value. And now I'm just going to do it, part B wants me to do it to the cost equation, so I'll do C of 150. So this time in Y1, I'm going to put my cost equation, which they give us right here. So 0.002x squared plus 5.6x plus 70. And I'm going to follow this same set of directions from that point forward. I'm just going to graph it and do a second calc value. And again, I'll do it at 150. And whatever the Y equals out of there is again going to be the answer to the problem. And so the more complicated the equations become, kind of the easier I feel like it is to do it in the calculator. 0.002x squared plus 5.6x plus 70, and we would go ahead and graph that. Do our second calc, number 1 value, and we want it at 150 again, so type in that 150, and we get out of there 955. On the last piece here, when they want the profit of 150, this is where I don't even worry about plugging in the equation that we got in part A, because that's a lot of places to type stuff in. We just want to remind ourselves that profit is just revenue minus cost. So R of 150 minus C of 150. So our revenue was the 1200 we got out for the first part of this, and we'll subtract off of that the cost, which was the 955. And so you could plug that into your calculator, but that's going to get you 245. So there's part B, and then as we go on to part C now, we're just being asked to start finding these individual derivatives. So first they want us to find the derivative of revenue. So our revenue equation was 8x. The derivative of this, we're just going to use our power rule. We're going to bring that 1 down. 1 times 8 gets me 8x, and then subtracting 1 from the power would give me x to the 0, and anything to the 0 power is 1, so I don't need to do anything more with that. And then they want the derivative of cost, so I use my cost equation, 0.002x squared plus 0.56x plus 70. And then from there, they want me to do my derivative, which is just going to be a power rule. We'll bring that 2 down. 2 times 0.002 gets us 0.004x. Subtracting 1 from the power gets us x to the first, plus we'll get 5.6, bringing that 1 down right there, and then x to the 0, and then the derivative of a constant is always 0. And then to do my profit, I just remind myself, just like always, that p prime of x, that my revenue minus my cost. So it's my derivative of profit is just my revenue derivative minus my cost derivative. And so what I can do is just take my answers from here. My revenue derivative, so putting together my p prime, is going to be 8 minus my cost derivative, so always in parentheses, 0.004x squared plus 5.6. And I can go ahead and just enter that in for my derivative of my profit function. At this point, they now want me to go ahead and start taking 150 and plugging it into my different derivatives. So part D here wants us to do r prime of 150. Well, remember that our derivative here is just a constant function. There's no x to plug this 150 into. So no matter what they want you to plug in, when it's a constant, that is your answer. So the answer here is 8 because there's no x to plug it into. Going on and doing my c prime of 150, I could again just plug the 150 into this equation right here, but I also can use my calculator. So in y1 right now is still my cost equation. So what I'll do is in y1 I'll keep that original cost equation, but anytime we need a derivative at a point, this is something our calculator can do for us. So we'll graph that equation. And this time we're going to do a second calc, and then inside that calc menu we'll choose number 6 option in there, which is dy dx. And then it won't prompt us to enter the x value. We just need to know that that's the process to type in that x value that we care about, which is 150. And at the bottom of the screen it'll tell us dy dx equals, and whatever that is the answer. So like I said, in my y equals, because it was just the last thing we did, is already that cost equation. So in our graph, we'll now do second calc, and we'll choose number 6 in that menu, which is dy dx. It doesn't prompt us. We need to know just to enter in the x value we care about, which is 150. And at the bottom of the screen, I can see dy dx equals 6.2. So my derivative of my cost function is 6.2. And just like we did with the original profit equation, P prime of 150 is equal to R prime of 150 minus C prime of 150. And I know what those values are. That's my 8 and my 6.2. So I'll just do 8 minus 6.2, which is going to get me 1.8 from my final answer for my derivative of my profit at 150. So a lot of pieces, but not too rough.